Megalosaurus was one of the first true hunters of the Jurassic world. It wasn't the biggest predator that ever lived, but it was one of the first to rule the land with strength and confidence. It walked on two legs, its long tail balancing its heavy body. Every step it took was quiet but full of power. Its sharp claws and strong jaws were made for one purpose: hunting. Unlike later hunters like T-Rex or Allosaurus, Megalosaurus didn't rely only on size. It used strategy and patience. It would wait in the shadows, watching herds of plant eaters move by, studying which one was slow or weak. When the time came, it attacked fast, faster than its prey expected. The first bite was always deadly. The second was to make sure the victim couldn't escape. Its teeth were long, curved, and serrated like knives. They could cut through flesh easily. After each hunt, Megalosaurus often dragged the kill to a safe place, away from other predators. Didn't waste food, every piece of meat mattered. It lived in a dangerous world, and even a hunter could become the hunted. Fossil evidence shows that Megalosaurus was strong but not huge, about 9 meters long. It was built more for agility than for size. Its muscles were thick in the legs and neck, giving it the power to chase and bite. Its arms were short but strong enough to grab and hold a struggling animal. Megalosaurus was not just a killer, it was a survivor. Its senses, its smell, hearing, and sight eyes were sharp. It could sense movement far away, even before the prey knew it was being watched. In a world full of dangers, those senses meant life or death. Sometimes Megalosaurus had to face rivals. Other hunters like Tyrannosaurus shared the same hunting grounds. When two predators met, there was no peace. They circled each other, testing who was stronger. Most times, one would back away, but when neither did, a brutal fight began. The sound of claws hitting scales, teeth clashing, and roars echoing through the forest filled the air. Megalosaurus knew when to fight and when to leave. It didn't waste energy. Survival was about balance, knowing when to risk injury and when to save strength for the next hunt. That intelligence made it one of the most successful hunters of its time. It hunted mainly herbivores like smaller sauropods and early iguanodonts. Its attack style was always direct. Quick ambush, one deep bite, then pull back. It used the terrain, hiding behind trees or rocks, blending with shadows. Its dark-colored skin helped it stay invisible until the final second. When Megalosaurus wasn't hunting, it rested in hidden places. It often stayed near rivers where prey came to drink. Sometimes it found bones from other hunts and crushed them for the marrow. Every source of food mattered. Each day was a fight for survival, but Megalosaurus had all the tools to win. It was not the largest, but it was one of the smartest early hunters ever to walk the earth. Morning light cut through the forest, turning the mist into silver smoke. Megalosaurus was already awake. Its stomach was empty. It hadn't eaten in days. Every sound in the forest meant something. A branch breaking could be wind or prey. Moved slowly, each step measured and careful. The forest floor hid it well. Its brown-gray skin blended with the earth. Megalosaurus was a shadow that breathed. Ahead, a herd of small sauropods grazed near a stream. They were young, not the massive giants of later ages. Their long necks swayed as they tore leaves from tall ferns. Megalosaurus waited behind a fallen log, silent, patient. It had learned long ago that speed was useless without timing. If it attacked too soon, the herd would scatter. If it waited too long, the wind would shift and reveal its scent. Timing was everything. It crouched low, its muscles tightening like ropes. The air was still. Then, one of the young sauropods stepped away from the group. That was the mistake Megalosaurus needed. With a deep breath, it exploded from the shadows. The ground shook beneath its feet. The herd panicked, but too late. The hunter had already reached its target. The first strike hit the sauropod's neck. Teeth sank deep, blood sprayed across the leaves. The victim tried to run, but the predator held on, twisting its head to tear through flesh. The fight lasted only seconds. When it was done, silence returned, except for the heavy breathing of the hunter. Later that day, Megalosaurus rested under a large rock formation. It was full but not safe. The scent of blood spread fast and other scavengers came soon after. Small meat-eaters, maybe coelurosaurs, circled around, trying to steal pieces of the kill. They hissed and snapped, but none dared to come close. Megalosaurus turned its head slowly, its eyes glowing in the fading light. A single growl sent the smaller predators fleeing into the forest. But peace never lasted long in the Jurassic. Storm clouds were gathering, and thunder echoed in the distance. Rain began to fall, washing blood from the ground. Megalosaurus dragged its meal deeper into a rocky shelter. It hated the rain. It made the air heavy, hard to smell danger. Still, it adapted, tore into the meat carefully, never wasting energy. It knew another day of hunting would come soon. For Megalosaurus, survival was never about glory. It wasn't the biggest or the fastest, but it was smart. And in the wild world of the Jurassic, intelligence was the true weapon. Every hunt was a lesson. Every scar was a story. The silent hunter ruled not by power alone, but by patience and instinct. The forest of the Jurassic was never quiet for long. Every creature had its place, and every inch of land meant food, safety, and life. For Megalosaurus, territory was everything. This was its land, and full of tracks, bones, and the scent of old hunts. It knew every path, every sound, every smell. When another predator crossed that line, it wasn't just an intruder. It was a threat. That morning, Megalosaurus caught the scent of another hunter. It was faint but fresh, the smell of meat mixed with mud and reptile sweat. It followed the trail through ferns and fallen logs until it saw what it was looking for. Another Megalosaurus. A rival, slightly smaller, younger, but bold enough to steal food or challenge for control. The two predators locked eyes. Neither moved. Their tails twitched, their claws dug into the dirt. The air was thick with tension. A low growl broke the silence. Not a warning, but a promise. Then the fight began. They charged at each other, jaws snapping, teeth flashing in the sunlight. The sound of impact echoed like thunder. Each strike was fast and brutal. Tail against body, claws against scales. The ground beneath them turned red. The younger rival was strong but reckless. It lunged too fast, exposing its side. The older Megalosaurus bit deep into its shoulder, shaking violently. The younger one screamed and broke free, leaving a trail of blood behind. It didn't try again. It turned and ran into the forest, disappearing into the mist. Megalosaurus stood victorious but bleeding, its breath heavy. The land was safe again, and for now. Hours later, the hunter limped back to its resting ground near a cliffside. Rain began to fall again, cooling its wounds. It lowered itself slowly, pressing its body into the wet soil. Pain was normal, part of life for a predator. It had survived another test, another battle for dominance. But the cost was always high. Nearby, scavengers waited, small, quick creatures hoping for scraps. Megalosaurus ignored them. It was too tired to fight. Its focus was on recovery. Every scar on its body told the story of a battle won. This world respected only one rule: the strong live, the weak vanish. As night fell, lightning lit the sky. The silhouette of Megalosaurus stood against the storm, bleeding but unbroken. The jungle belonged to it again. The forest echoed with distant roars, but none dared to approach. It was the master of this land, the guardian of a bloody kingdom. Days turned into weeks, and the wounds of Megalosaurus began to heal. The scars across its skin were marks of survival, not weakness. Each one told a story. Every battle, every hunt, every close escape. It was more than just a hunter now. It was a legend among its kind, the one that ruled longer than most. As the sun rose over the Jurassic forest, Megalosaurus moved slowly through the tall ferns. Its steps were heavy but steady. It no longer needed to chase every sound or fight every rival. It had earned its place. The land around it was full of memories. Bones buried beneath the soil. Footprints hardened in the mud, the echoes of ancient hunts. Nearby, a group of young predators, smaller and faster, followed at a distance. They watched the old hunter move. Learning from its behavior, Megalosaurus didn't attack them. It simply glanced back as if to remind them who ruled first. There was no need for another fight. The lesson was clear. Power comes not from anger, but from endurance. Over time, even the forest began to change. New plants grew, rivers shifted, and the balance of life continued. But Megalosaurus remained, adapting to each change. It hunted less, rested more, conserving strength for when it truly mattered. It was a creature that had outlived its rivals. Proof that survival was not about being the biggest, but being the smartest. One evening, the sky burned orange as the sun began to fall. Megalosaurus stood on a rocky ridge, looking down at its world. The air was still quiet, the kind of silence only true kings know. It could hear distant calls of other creatures, but none dared to come close. For a moment, the old predator simply watched, not as a killer, but as a witness to time. Its reflection shimmered in the water below. The same eyes that once saw blood and fear now saw peace. The world was changing, and it knew that new hunters would come. But none would ever be the first. Megalosaurus was the start, the original apex predator that opened the path for all that followed. When darkness fell, the hunter lay down among the rocks. Its breathing slowed, calm and steady. It wasn't afraid of what would come next. In the endless circle of life, its name would never disappear. Every fossil, every bone left behind would tell the story of the first predator that ruled the land with brains and bravery. Even millions of years later, when humans would find its remains, they would speak its name with wonder, Megalosaurus. And so the first hunter of the Jurassic world became something greater. Not just a dinosaur, but a legend carved in time.